committee meeting to order.
You don't.
No, we got 5, right?
McGowan's not on there.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin and Matt left.
He grabbed his, that's that shaker.
The chairman can make a forum.
Oh, yeah.
5.
You here? Oh, yes.
All right. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum with you included, so pay attention, don't fall asleep. Okay, we're going to start. It's called, that's not mine. Oh, yeah, it is.
Chairman has to make a forum.
Who doesn't make the phone?
Ron has to make it.
But there's 9 members.
Your big chance.
McGowan's not on the committee. Supervisor McGowan is not on the committee.
Oh, okay.
And have me going too.
There we go.
All right, call the meeting to order. Have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 26th meeting.
Make a motion.
Anybody second it? Gene? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mike, you're up.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good news. The occupancy tax collections in 2017 are up 3.64% over 2016. And this figure will probably go up a little bit as we have some more collections still coming in. Any questions about that? Yeah, that's good. Good news.
How much is that?
How much is that in money? $4,282,940 was collected in 2017.
And the increase year over year?
Pardon me?
The increase year over year?
155,000. But that figure will grow a little bit because we're still collecting some more. Some of the filers don't come into it. Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question? Due to the lateness of the time, and I'm way overdue for an appointment, could I make a comment about one of your action items under 5?
Yes.
Just to, it concerns the CFA grant for $166,000.
Correct.
That I know that you're going to be discussing. I've reviewed the information that I was given. It looks like a fairly good deal. I mean, this is a decision for the people here to make. But I just want to remind everybody that until the contract is signed and in my office, there will be no advancements of funds. This is now our policy and has been for a long time. Just so that everybody's aware of that going forward. Okay? And I do think that, and I don't see a problem with the county managing it, and I think it's a good deal, I think, from what I saw. But I'm not the expert. That's for you to decide.
Great. We'll keep that in mind as we hear the presentation.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. With that, we'll go to Kristen Hannafin. She's going to give us an update on special events, convention sales, and she has a presentation to make to the board at the same time.
Thank you. Good afternoon,
4 and
everybody.
5.
Thank you for your time. We've got a lot of items to cover today, so actually I'm going to kind of give you just the highlights of the monthly report that you were all given. That would be actually attached to this document there. There's 2 packets that you were given. One's the smaller one, one's the larger one. So we're going to look at the smaller one first. And to give you some of those highlights from January, in January the CVB booked 1,919 new rooms. That included a conference coming in November for biodynamics, the Church of God Feast of the Tabernacles, some overflow rooms for the New York State Association of School Attorneys. We also booked an additional 580 rooms for repeat events with the Hemmings Concours d'Elegance and Barbershop Quartet, and sent out 6 new leads for potential new business, which totaled approximately 2,510 potential new room nights. And we lost about 114 room nights due to one event being canceled and the other two choosing to go to other locations. Other notable highlights for the month include the development, working on a couple of very large-scale bid proposals for the Winter Special Olympics bids of 2020 and 21. Primetime lacrosse, which is due to come in July, asking for additional overflow rooms. We're actually over right now 596 rooms that they have booked, and they are looking for an additional probably 500 to 600 more for July. So I'm actually in desperate need of finding more rooms for them for that particular event. USA Field Hockey and the Force Club of America, all very large-scale events. Receiving other highlights include receiving approval and support from the town and the village of Lake George to develop a new winter festival called the Lake George Christkindle Mart, as well as supporting pre-event marketing for the ATA Adventure Travel Trade Association's Elevate Conference in Banff for this year. We also hosted a meeting on the January 18th, attended by 16 people, and the next CBB meeting will take place on March 22nd at the Holiday Inn Resort at 9 a.m. This is actually my abbreviated version of my CBB monthly report. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point with regards to the activities for the month of January. Otherwise, I want to move directly to the Adventure Travel Trade Association.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, Craig?
Thanks. On your monthly business at a glance there, on the new rooms nightly booked, and so were you responsible for those?
Yes.
And then, but then the 2,500 booked in January, from your existing business.
Those are a combination of the new rooms booked, the 1,919 rooms, plus the additional coming in from the Henderson Cordova Dance and the Barbershop Quartet, our repeat business that is coming back year after year. They have rebooked again, so those are included in those numbers.
And just for clarification of the relationship between the CBB and Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce, so that's where Mike was is that all one and the same? Because even listening to Mayor Blaze as well on these events coming in, just really to be able to get a grasp as we're thinking about monitoring ROI and things like that. You know, where does the CBB actually add value and secure these things, or is it just to carry on as from existing businesses or other agencies working these avenues as well?
Well, the CBB's function is ultimately to book new business as well as bring back existing. So therefore, my function is basically a sales role. I go out and I try to bring in new business, so sporting events, special events, meetings, conventions, festivals, and things like that. I do work also with Amanda and myself, work with the mayor's office in conjunction with what happens down in Festival Commons. So we do stay looped in. He does book those events, but we also take over the convention services side. So we'll help perhaps on the housing side and help them secure housing. So I'll put out an RFP to the local hoteliers and things like that. So that's kind of how that relationship works, is that, because I sit within the chamber offices, there's a lot of, cohesive work that goes back and forth. I mean, I rely on our marketing director to be able to help me perhaps create an ad or put out something on social media for an event that's coming in. So there's a lot of synergy that goes on there. And we also work, really closely. We've been working much better, and, great communication with the tourism department as well, and looking to see how we can dovetail some of our efforts moving forward, so that, because of what the CBB's function and role is more on that sales side, booking business that is not just coming this year, but looking into 19, 20, 21, 22. That's how far I work. So I'm not looking directly at sales and bookings just for now. I want to bring us in new business that's going to be able to work with our properties and our venues in and around the entire county and region, so that they can have booked business, months and years ahead, so that they're full. And really, it's an economic development generator to do that.
Just one other, to your point about rebooking. So oftentimes, while Mayor Blaze has rebooked that event, there is, like she said, there's other services that go along to keep that business happy. So while he has rebooked the space, so think about anything else they need outside of that space. That's what we're working with that event planner on. So they might do other events that are outside of that festival common space that the mayor doesn't help with, that's where we come into play. So just to get that, like, even when something's been booked at, let's say the Fort William Henry or the Courtyard, that planner might want something outside of that space, that's where we come in with convention services.
And just to give you an example, not everybody knows exactly what convention services, what we do. They can be something as simple as providing welcome bags for the attendees that are coming in. It could be like what I did yesterday, is spending 5 hours on a site visit with two potential two meeting planners, bringing a potential event, two events actually, to the area. So walking around with them to the various properties, creating that itinerary for them to go from place to place. Basically, that sales role, is another component of it. Or, helping them with some pre-event marketing. So there's a lot of, basically there's two or three dual roles, or multiple roles actually, within the CVB, because you have that sales side going on selling, then we also have the support side for the stuff that does come in that may be existing or may be new, that still needs to be handheld. Just because we book an event doesn't mean we just cut it loose and say, okay, just show up. I mean, some are very self-sufficient, and they're wonderful to work with. Others are very needy, and they need a lot of help, and they want a lot of help. And as, good customer service, we want to be able to provide that for them. Yep.
What's that? Anybody else? Okay.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the next large packet that you have there. Okay. In there, that's what's been distributed. You actually sent this, I believe, Lisa, we sent it last week, I think?
It was posted on Friday.
And I realize that there's a tremendous amount of information in there, so what I'd like to do is actually kind of outline for you a little bit what it is we're asking for, what we're going to talk about today. Over the last year, the Lake George Convention Visitors Bureau has secured the 2019 Adventure Travel Trade Association's Elevate Conference, June 3rd through the 13th of 2019. This is a 2- and 3-day conference that's an in-depth look at the adventure travel market. For those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with what the adventure travel market is, it's not just outdoor recreation. It involves culture and history and brew tours and local food and beverage. And it's the entire experience. It is the epitome of experiential travel. And so basically what we're looking at is bringing this conference, which would include a pre- and post-familiarization tour for buyers and media. So we're talking tour operators, receptive tour operators, a day of adventure for attendees, workshop sessions, and seminars. And it will connect us as a whole to international industry experts with destination representatives, tour operators, and media from around the globe. Currently booked at the Fort William Henry. We anticipate at least 300 attendees from all over the globe. So given the importance of the adventure travel market to the state, we're also working very, very closely with our state and regional partners, including I Love New York and ESDC, DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Parks and Historic Preservation, the New York State Tourism Industry Association, and we've also just recently brought on board SUNY Adirondack. So the conference is very significant to DEC because it will enable them to partner with us to showcase the governor's brand new launched initiative as of last June called Adventure New York. And as of last week, we already have a commitment from the Lieutenant Governor's office to be our keynote speaker for next year. So at this point, we've also secured a Market New York CFA grant for $166,410 from ESD, which requires a 28 match. We've also secured at this point $20,000 to help support the pre-event marketing for this year. The event this year will take place in Banff, Alberta, Canada. What they do is this is the North American conference, so it rotates back and forth between Canada and the U.S. So this year it will be in Canada, next year it will be with us. Previous years, last year was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The year before that, Saguenay, Quebec. The year before that, Snowmass, Colorado. So pretty significant places, and we beat Montana, which is great. So we have a really amazing opportunity to showcase our region, and we invite those attending this year to come next year, which is why I'll be heading out with our marketing director, Amanda Metzger, and I believe I'll know for sure DEC Director of Outdoor Recreation, Laura DeBetta, within the next, we'll be leaving on the 12th, to go and to promote our event in 19 out there. We are the sponsor as the CVB, and with additional regional partners. So we will be inviting and talking to these folks who are very influential in this market and business to come and to be a part of what we're going to be having in 19. So I'm here today to ask for the following things. To request the Occupancy Tax Committee approve the agreement to support and fund a portion of the CFA grant for this conference. The grant funding would be reimbursed back to the county over a 9 to 12-month period by the state, and a majority of these funds would not be required until late 18-19. Prior to that, though, as Mike said earlier, what we need to do is actually have the contract to be the host and host of this conference itself. So we're actually asking permission to have Warren County Tourism co-sign the Adventure Travel Trade Association's host conference agreement with us. By sharing the status of the co-host, both parties will have access to the deliverables that are outlined in the Appendix A of the ADA Partnership Agreement, and we would work cohesively to promote tourism to the industry and the media, as well as potential new consumers to this region. So I'm sure you're probably asking yourselves, why? Why should we support this? And the value statement's outlined at number 4 on your cover sheet. We'll talk about that. First, it will have a very significant public relations impact worth millions of dollars. It will provide regional and statewide tourism exposure to buyers, journalists from all over the world. We're all talking about money. We're all talking about how much or how little we can do. Really, honestly, in tourism, there's really never enough money to go around. As I'm sure our own various folks around the table can attest to that. But cohesively, working together, we can make this happen and tap in to an organization and an event that really will be able to help us double, triple, and quadruple our reach out there in the international marketplace through magazines like Condé Nast Traveler, National Geographic, New York Times, Boston Globe, Sydney Herald. You know, these are all the potentials of where we could be talked about on a bigger, broader scale, as well as encouraging new adventure tourists to visit and tour operators to book new tours in our area. It would align with the RDC strategies and plans to support small businesses in our region. By focusing on our regional assets and natural environments here in the Adirondack Park, it will allow us to repackage our regional assets in the marketplace, offering cross-functional and cross-marketing opportunities in the arts, history, culture, and agritourism through regional collaborations. Thirdly, the conference will also provide transformative initiatives by providing new ideas and partnerships and job opportunities for adventure travel suppliers, increase hotel and campground bookings, help develop new and local regional adventure travel itineraries, and identify new areas of growth and opportunity. Case in point with regard to the jobs side of things and creating sort of that economic development impact, I had a meeting this morning with SUNY Adirondack and met with one of their key folks who was involved in their adventure travel program and the certificate. And he was very interested because what this is creating is he's creating this pool of individuals who will ultimately down the road be able to be guides and rafting outfitters and potentially set up new businesses, all geared towards that outdoor recreational adventure travel market, which we have right here in our backyard. So another question you might ask is, what about my town, my village, my area? You know, it sounds like it's just Lake George. What about me? And the short answer to that is no. It's not just going to be about Lake George. While we do have the 2 days of workshops and sessions, which will be at the Fort William Henry Conference Center, the conference will have a day pre and post for us to craft pre and post familiarization tours for buyers and the media to showcase these opportunities in and around the area. More locally, we'll be building with ADA what's called the Days of Adventure on the first day of the conference. These are half and full day excursions for the itineraries to book ahead of time and take in the local flavors and unique recreational opportunities. So a random sampling just, kind of came off the top of my head, and I said, we're going to put some together, a tour of the local craft beverage trail with a beer historian step-on guide, and they would go through Glens Falls, Queensbury, and Lake George. Another one could be a culinary tour that encompasses Osgood smoked meats in Warrensburg, Nettle Meadow Farms goat cheese, Toad Hill maple farms, and a number of others. Maybe even crossing over into Washington County since they have all that agritourism over there and great farms. Hiking tours that go up the falls to North Creek and culminate with a box lunch and mountain biking at Gore. Whitewater rafting, kayaking in North Creek and Lake Luzerne, zip lining at Aerial Extreme in Bolton, fishing and rock climbing on the islands of the lake. So those are just some of the examples of what we're thinking about looking at and exposing this international audience of industry experts who are going to come here and have this great opportunity. So as you can see, there's ample opportunity for every area, in our region, and then beyond throughout Adirondack Park, and then statewide. Our state partners are very involved with us already, knowing that they want to be at the forefront and the cutting edge of this new, not really new market, but a market that is growing in interest from both millennials and really, frankly, from all age groups. So, as you can see, while we have the Market New York grant that has been put in for and requested, what we are requesting is that we have some support and that the Warren County Tourism Department be an administrator for us with this contract, and we also request that they help be co-signers with us to really help us elevate this and bring it to fruition and really make it an event for our entire region. So, on that note, any questions? Yes.
Okay, I'll be first.
Yep.
This is a great idea,
Thank you.
and I know it's gonna work, and you're looking for 20 grand, as long as I can see here?
No, the 20 grand is what we have secured up to this point.
So you're looking for 21 grand?
We're not looking for funding at this point. What we are looking for currently is an approval to co-sign the contract first and foremost as the partner with Warren County Tourism, for both of us to be able to co-sign this contract with ATTA. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that we are asking for...
Actually, help us.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank
that
you,
I
Gina.
understand. So, tourism, we've discussed it, we're all for it, 100%, and I talked to the treasurer, he wasn't able to sit here, and that could be worked out, that the county, through the tourism, administrates this grant, and then, but what amount of money are you looking for the match? Do you have any idea?
It's roughly about $50,000 match, but we weren't actually coming to the committee for the match.
Well, I think you should, because it's time for us to think
Okay,
seriously.
we will.
No, we gotta do it now, so that we're not waiting until November or December to decide. And I think something should come out of OpTax, because, we can do that. Tourism will be able to help you. But one other thought, this is gonna be such a county-wide thing, and
It's
it's
actually
something that
beyond.
maybe we can work on, and I can work on personally, is try to get all the towns come up with $1,000 from their OpTax money, and throw that into the pot. You'll have all the money you need to do this and make it a success.
That would be fantastic.
But as far as administrator, Joanne and I discussed it, going to administrate it, the county will be able to take it, and we could take, and I hate to put words in Dennis's mouth.
Right.
but we could take
Everybody
money.
this
I mean,
morning.
The OpTax has a reserve fund for emergencies, and this is guaranteed money back that we probably can draw from that and pay the bills on as it goes along.
And the thing is, with a CFA Market New York grant, the timeline is about a 9 to 12 month reimbursement process. So really, it's to help support us and start this moving forward, because at this point, we need to have that happen. We need, first and foremost, we need the contract with that assigned. Second thing, having that support to be able to be administering this grant, then we can start moving things forward, and we need to do that fairly soon. So the support is certainly very welcome.
We also need Lisa's grant. She's got her pencil, some people have the pedal to the metal, she's got her pencil.
I have never worked on a grant before.
Hey, me
but
neither.
I'm
You understand.
No, but it's
I'm willing to learn.
You know what, actually there are some wonderful resources. I have, in putting this together initially back last May, June, July, in thinking ahead that we would need this, and it was recommended by Gavin Landry from I Love New York and then the other folks there. This is how we want to help you, we want to support, we want to fund you, but you have to put it through Market New York. So that's what we did. That's what I did. But I've got some great resources. We can certainly get on a conference call with a couple of folks who were instrumental in telling me, this is how you frame it out, this is the budget that you need to kind of put behind it, this is how, this is why. There's a lot of ins and outs, and a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. So we can certainly do that and get on a call and kind of work the framework of how this is going to be laid out timeline too.
Ron?
Yeah, so you want us to finance this because we'll be reimbursed by the state. So we probably would be looking to, you're looking for us to lay out this month,
6,000.
which we would receive reimbursement from the state on over the next
That is correct.
9 months. And
But Ron, I don't, and talking, because I also do some research as well, it wouldn't be all the 166 out. We do put out some, and we start asking for those reimbursements over time. Not, it wouldn't be,
Not flat out.
a lump sum.
It's not lump sum,
and
no.
then it's actually like pay as you go.
yeah, it is.
And-
I've done a lot of grants. It's not a very large grant, so it's not, just submit daily if you want, but I'm not sure that.
Right.
However, it works out. You're looking for us to advance the dollars, which we'd be reimbursed on, and the 166,000, so that the 300 participants, 2 minutes.
Correct.
600 bed nights. The purpose of this is not the 600 bed nights.
Correct.
The purpose is to introduce our region, our area, to a global
A global
group
audience.
that's marketing worldwide.
Correct. And
So that's what we're after.
correct. And it's also, because it ties in with some of the RDC strategic plans and economic development, and the idea and potentially to bring new businesses to set up in our area, whether it's a new rafting company or it's a receptive tour operator that's going to come in and start booking these types of adventure travel trips for people in Germany and Italy and Spain and Portugal. We've talked a little bit about trying to bring more international travelers to the area, and I know Tanya's working on some of the international stuff. But this is a way for really to sort of get ourselves out on the map.
And where do they have their association meeting? Do they have annual?
I will be going out on the 12th for the Adventure Travel Trade Association's Elevate 2018 conference. They do have a number of them that go around the world, but this is the North America one. So we will
This
be
would be located where?
Banff, Alberta, Canada.
Alberta.
Correct. So
They would have bid on this or acquired this in the same way that we.
correct.
They are introducing their
Their-
products, their area to
To
brokers.
Right, to this demographic of people, and and if anybody is interested, I have the after action reports from both Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, as well as Saguenay, Quebec. So if you wanted to see the deliverables of what they got so far up to this date, and what was they hosted, these are some of the things that they got back off of it. This is some of the demographics they got back of it, and then happy to also share additional information from their organizers as to how they're doing now. I'd be happy to provide that to you.
Have you been in New York State before?
No, and they've been trying to come.
Very good. Thank you.
Kristen, I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So, give me a timeline on the $166,410. I mean, how much of it are you going to need this year and how much next year?
Well, at this point right now, we have 20,000 so far. It's
Just ballpark.
ballpark. We could probably use 50% of it, maybe,
Okay.
just to pre-book things, and then the other 50 next year. I mean, the other thing too that needs to be understood is that some of the overall fees and costs associated with this event will be offset by the sponsorship and the sponsorships that are acquired by ADA. Those are not on us; those are on them. We can not only just provide them with additional contacts locally and regionally, but they go after things like people like organizations, Turkish Airlines, and Tour Radar, and some of these really big organizations that fund and underwrite, and or the ones that will in 2020, for example, will more than likely do what we're doing this year in Banff, is host a luncheon. So for a $15,000 investment that covers everything, and you get all the deliverables associated with that, then they would be able to fund that. So that would then be taken off of our total balance of our budget. So, and those are the kinds of things, in taking and pulling our partners from I Love New York and ES and DEC and Parks and Rec. There may be things like the FAM tours that might be able to be in-kind sponsored, as opposed to outlaid directly in terms of funding. So the only thing that we do have to be careful of, and we're watching this very closely, is that you cannot commingle state funds with state funds, but in-kind is okay. So there's some hard costs, and there are some that can potentially be covered in kind.
Ron?
Yeah, what was the feedback from the state of New York, the Isle of New York, in terms of putting up a lot of money here? They must be very very enthusiastic about this to be funding this at this level. What was the kind of their reaction to?
This is one of the main markets they're going after, actually. It is one of the main markets. So between the conversations I've had with them for the last year and a half, when I initially started with Gavin Landry, now with Ross Levi, they're fully vested in. The governor's office is completely behind this. The lieutenant governor, as I mentioned, has committed to coming to be our keynote speaker for next year. DEC is fully committed because Adventure New York is one of their big programs. There's $50 million behind it. So they will be definitely assisting us in terms of in-kind. They're sending actually aluminum water bottles out there as giveaways for the luncheon this year and a couple of other things. And then their she's the special assistant to Commissioner Sagos, Laura DeBetta, is also looking probably to come out and give some talking points as well. And then New York State Parks and Historic Preservation has given a verbal to say, yes, we will sponsor, but we don't know how much yet, but we'll actually put money towards it. So,
Go ahead.
have buy-in.
Now, will they be setting up, affording people an opportunity to set up booths in like a center court type of situation so that a business could set up, purchase a booth or become part of this and actually be on the center court of this?
For this year or for next year?
For the event itself.
For 2019.
Yes.
We have a lot of leeway in terms of the programming and how we want this thing to set up. When working in partnership with ADA, one of the nice things about this is that we have a lot of control over the content. And we've even thought about doing sort of a Taste of New York dinner at the end, where we're showcasing all the local products, all the local beers and wines, and do a true taste of New York. That kind of thing. There's certainly an opportunity to be able to showcase the businesses and the outfitters and that kind of thing. So certainly we can incorporate that into it. That's the nice thing about this, we have a lot of leeway, which is great. So the one other point that I will also make too is that part of this event and things that I've already got set up, similarly to what I do at other marketplaces, is there are one-on-one appointments, which are pre-selected appointments with the media and the buyers. That's the tour operators looking to bring in new tours, new business. So I've already pre-selected my 45. I think they give us, I don't know exactly how many yet, but unlike the other ones that give you the appointments a week in advance, I think I get mine like 2 days in advance this time. But there's a lot of networking opportunities. There's those one-on-one appointments. There's the disruptive networking session that they will have where you go and you speak with more media if you didn't get a chance to meet them one-on-one. So there's a lot of opportunities to really talk about what we have. And I think that's probably the most valuable, is it's creating those links, those partnerships where we can say to somebody, I want to go and I love, craft beverage, and I love, history, and I want to go to the Hyde Museum. We can craft an entire package around that, and if it doesn't exist, we can make it. A perfect case in point is a brand new business starting up called Hamlets to Huts. If you haven't heard of it, it is a great business up in the North Country, up past North Creek, and it's going to be a pilot program this year. It will be officially launched, I believe, in the fall. I was just talking with Joe yesterday. But that is something that is so unique, and it's actually modeled after the main Huts to Huts program, where you go in, you literally just you show up, you hike, you stay overnight, you can paddle the next day, you maybe hike some more, your gear's covered, your food is covered, everything, you just show up. And that's packaged, ready to go. And that's the kind of stuff that's exciting because it doesn't exist. So to have programs like that, to be able to duplicate them and bring them here, or have one started and then be able to sell it, is really great. So it's a good opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, somebody want to make a motion? They've asked us to be joint signees on the application. Gene? Is there a second to that? Craig? Any further discussion? Additions, deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are two proposed resolutions.
As far as the funding is concerned, if we're going to move half of that money into the occupancy tax budget, it should come from the reserve.
Okay. So were you making that motion, Craig?
I didn't hear what. The second one?
She mentioned 50% of the 166,000.
It's like 84,000.
Yeah, that money should
This
come
year.
from the reserve because it's not in the budget right now.
Okay, is there a second to that? Gene, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Good call, Craig.
And the third is to have
Privilege of the floor, anybody want, what?
Third resolution is to have us administer the grant from the
Who's
county
that
level.
called?
Do we have the ability to do that?
What's that?
Do we have the ability to do that, administer the grant?
Mr. Chairman, do whatever you...
Yeah, I talked to the
Whatever you
treasurer,
wish.
and just like he said when he walked out of here, though, we have to have the commitment from the state for that money, and he'll be happy with that.
Okay.
No, but 166, especially over 24 months, that's not
Not a big lift?
not a big lift. no.
Okay.
Charlie's got this.
So are you making that motion, Chairman Conover?
Absolutely.
Do I have a second? Gene, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Are you done? Okay.
Are you done?
Well, almost. Privilege of the floor?
Okay, all right.
Yes, Greg.
Last month, there was a RFP for website creation and updates. Where's that?
Oh, for the Festival Commons?
Yes.
It's out with a deadline of, might be March 9th, so anyone that would want to bid on that. So that was for website, social media, and a brochure for Festival Commons.
Yep. Thanks.
Anybody else? Once? Twice? Gone. Entertain a motion to adjourn? So, Mr. Driscoll? Gene? All in favor? Done. Thank you.